It is time for episode 6 of Freud's psychoanalysis. Last time we left off, we talked about anxiety, and we're about to talk about psychosexual stages in this video and the next one. So hopefully just this video and one more and we're done. But before we go on, I forgot to point something out in the last video. Check this out. Defense mechanisms, right? You're supposed to read those on your own, but they're brought to us by Anna Freud. Sigmund Freud mentioned defense mechanisms, but never defined them. No, Anna Freud is the one that went into greater length, emphasizing the ego more and talking about the defense mechanisms, explaining each of them. So who the hell was Anna Freud? Was it his wife? No, we already talked about Martha and the lack of sex life. So was it Freud's sexy mother? No, it wasn't her either. So who was Anna Freud? Yes, his daughter. And yes, Anna Freud at one point even said, "Father, I want to have sex with you." And you know what Sigmund Freud said in response? He said, "And I want to have sex with you." What? Father and daughter, why are we talking about such things? This is getting pretty uncomfortable. But if you think that's uncomfortable, we're about to talk about the psychosexual stages. And when we talk about the psychosexual stages, this is Freud's idea of how our personality develops throughout our own personal development. Some radical things he said. Basically, he said, by the age of 5, we're done developing. So you now, you're no different now than you were when you're 5, according to Freud. Realistically said, yeah, you're different. You've learned some new tricks, and you have a whole bunch more defense mechanisms, but at the core, you're still your 5-year-old self. You're just smarter about going about getting what you want. But here's a way to remember the psychosexual stages, because on your next test, you will need to be able to list out and describe each of these stages. There's 5 of them. According to Sigmund Freud, who is the world's ultimate villain? Well, according to Sigmund Freud, the world's ultimate villain is, of all people, little girls. Yes, little girls, according to Sigmund Freud, are these big meanies, just vicious out to get individuals. And we'll talk about that more. But who are Freud's ultimate villains? Of all people, little girls. That's to help you remember that the stages, the psychosexual stages, are oral, anal, phallic, latent, genital. Of all people, little girls. OAPLG. These are Freud's 5 stages of personality development, and each one's associated with a particular erogenous zone. He said that as we go through life, we have different parts of our body that we focus upon through which we try to get sexual gratification. And we're going to go through each of these, and the problem is we need just the right amount of sexual gratification in each of these stages. If we get too much, we might get stuck in that phase. Or if we don't get enough, we might get stuck in that phase. So it's kind of like Goldilocks and the 3 bears, where we need just the right amount of porridge that's at the right temperature in order not to get stuck in these stages. So what does it mean to get stuck in one of these stages? Well, according to Freud, that's the vocabulary term fixation. So we're going to go through each of these really quickly and briefly and describe what it means to be stuck in these. Oral, anal, phallic, latent, genital. Let me give you a preview right now. Oral. Well, that's your mouth. Got to get a lot of sexual gratification from your mouth when you're first born. But then there's the anal, the part of the body being the anus. You need just the right amount of satisfaction from your anus so you don't get fixated in it. Then there's the phallic stage. A phallus is just a fancy word for penis. So then you get the penis stage. And according to Sigmund Freud, he says all people without exception go through the penis stage, where they're trying to get sexual gratification through their penis. And when I say all people, I mean Freud said all people. So you should be asking yourself, wait a second, what if I'm a woman? I don't have a penis. Freud said, exactly. So you're pissed. We'll talk about that. Then there's the latency stage. Latent is a fancy word for hidden. This is the hidden stage. And then finally is the genital, where it is specifically the genitals. You ready to get through these stages? Here we go. Let's begin with the oral stage, from birth to 1 year of age. You don't necessarily have to remember the age in which these stages happen on my examinations, but it kind of makes sense because it's a bit important to understand, because when we're born as babies, pretty much as soon as you hand a baby something, what do? They put it in their mouth because that's what they need to eat to survive. If a baby's doesn't have a sucking reflex, That baby's not going to be too healthy. But Freud said the same type of satisfaction we get through sex, babies are getting that same type of satisfaction through eating and exploring with their mouth. So imagine that, not to make things too weird and uncomfortable, but that whole, oh yeah, that's the kind of satisfaction that babies are getting with their mouth through the oral stage, according to Freud. So weaning a child can lead to fixation if it's not handled correctly. You got to let them get some nice oral exploratory behaviors, but not too much. Don't overindulge them, because you can become orally fixated. And now here's the two parts to it. You can become oral incorporative, which means these people are very dependent, that they require a lot of mouth satisfaction, right? Or they become oral sadistic, cruel and sarcastic. So think about this. You've probably heard someone of having an oral fixation before. Somehow they're really focused on their mouth. So Freud described different behaviors we do with our mouth. For instance, eating. Freud would say if you have an eating problem and you eat too much, well, that's a symptom of oral fixation because you're trying to get that sexual satisfaction through your mouth still. Nom, nom, nom. Maybe you weren't fed enough as a baby. Or maybe you were fed too much as a baby and now it's a habit. But what else do we do with our mouths? We talk with them. So someone who keeps on talking may have oral fixation, or someone who doesn't talk at all may have an oral fixation. So this is like the oral sadistic. People that are really cruel and sarcastic maybe have some diarrhea of their mouth, really biting behaviors, right? So we eat, we talk, and we do other things with our mouth, and this can lead to oral fixation. So of all people, little girls, oral, anal stage, 1 to 3 years of age. And what are we trying to teach a child around 3 years of age? That's right, it's potty training. And if it's not handled correctly, well, they can become fixated. Have you ever heard of calling someone anal retentive? Man, you're so anal. Everything has to be in its exact place. Well, believe it or not, you're quoting Freud with that. Anal retentive versus anal expulsive. So somehow maybe you didn't have enough anal satisfaction or too much, but if you become anal retentive, it means that you are control oriented. Because when a child is learning to be potty trained, it's the first time in that child's life that they get a sense of power. Because now it's up to them. They're not just at the throes of their parents' will. They have control over something. And what will they do with that power? Oh, you want me to poop over there? You want me to poop over there? Too bad, I'm going to poop right here in my pants. Oh, you want me to poop now? I'm not going to poop now. I'm going to hold it in, and then I'm going to get my poopy voice. If you ever watch kids, you can tell when they need to go poop, but they won't. They get a poopy voice. I remember babysitting my nephew and just having to tell him, go to the bathroom, Lars. No, I don't have to. You got your poopy voice, Lars. Go poop. No. Anyway, so fixation can lead to anal retentive or anal expulsive. Anal retentive means you're obsessed with control. How do people's homes look that are anal retentive? Immaculate. They don't move at all as far as their home. So everything has its perfect place. Everything needs to be where it's at. In fact, the way that they talk shows signs of anal retentive control, and the way that they walk shows signs of control. Everything they do, every movement, every behavior, every choice in life is true anal retentive fixation. So what's anal expulsive? The complete opposite of that. Anal expulsive is when someone has no control. They just come in and they say and do whatever they want. Their homes look like some bomb had hit them. They come in and say like, hey, you're hot, you're not, I love you, I'm out of here. Whoa, just diarrhea of the mouth, just constantly letting things out. So that's anal expulsive, or as I like to call it, anal explosive. That's right. So we have oral, anal, what's the next stage? Of all people, oral, anal, phallic stage, 3 to 5 years. The focus of pleasure shifts to the genitals, specifically the penis, right? Now here's a problem. If you get fixated, if you get too much satisfaction or not enough gratification on your penis during the phallic stage, well, this can lead to excessive masculinity in males and the need for attention or domination in females. So let's talk about this though. Not everyone has a penis. So what about women? Well, that's where penis envy comes in. probably the de facto example of how misogynistic, sexist Sigmund Freud was in his ideas. You know what he said? Oh no, out of time already. He said, you know why women are the way women are? It's because they're pissed. They're angry because they weren't born with a penis. They have to walk around without one. So now they're willing to do whatever it takes in order to get that penis. So they're like a penis flytrap, a Venus flytrap, if you will, trying to capture a penis. They need a man in order to do so. So women are always inferior to men because they're always trying to get a penis. And men, well, they suffer from castration anxiety because they realize their father probably wants to castrate them because their father doesn't want them having sex with all these individuals, specifically the mother. So when we come back next time, let's talk more about the phallic stage and probably what Freud's most infamous for of all, his idea of the Oedipus complex or Electra complex. Plot spoiler, you want to have sex with your parents.